you use digital marketing to engage your audience is really open to it's open to discussion. It's up to you. I mean, you know, for your personal brand, it's important to obviously show off your credentials, but you also, before you do that, you want to think about what makes you different. And I mean, I think that's very, very important. Why are you different to anybody else in your particular space? What do you bring to the table that is different to anybody else? And why would someone want to do business with you as opposed to somebody else? And I think, yeah, that's very, very important to give it some thought. And I mean, in terms of, you know, understanding your brand, it's important to work out, you know, where does your source of authority come from? That's something that's very, very important. And why are you different? Here we go. We got Dan here, a friend of mine from over in Canada, and hopefully he's got some interesting information to share. Here we go. Hey Dan, how you doing?
Good morning. How are you?
Wow, that's a bit loud. Whew, I need to turn my volume down a bit.
You know, you've already had lunch. You've already got through the lull of the day, and it's like, oh, I'm going to take it easy. Oh. Oh no, too loud. Good morning, everyone on Blab. Thank you. I don't know if Nat's already said this, but thank you to everyone for the Twitter interaction. It's just been immense this time round. Nat, please get me up to speed, because I didn't realize that on Blab you had to install the iPhone app to do it on the iPhone. So where are we at?
Okay, I can't hear you too well, Dan. I think there's a bit of a dodgy internet signal over there, but not to worry. We'll try and work through it. Yeah. I mean, where I was at, I'm really trying to actually understand, you know, a little bit about. I'm asking the questions, right? I'm asking myself these questions as well. Yeah. And all right. So we've got personal brand, and we need to understand why we're actually different to everybody else. And I think that's certainly very, very crucial to this whole sort of process. So what do we do? I mean, that's the first thing we need to work out. So what business are we in? That's obviously something that we need to know before we begin on steering our ship into potentially a different direction. Yeah. So that's really what business are we in right now as of today? Okay. Where have we been in business for the last however many years? But also we need to work out, you know, where is our source of authority come from? So what do we do on a day-to-day basis or a weekly basis that gives us authority? And I think that's very, very important. I had an interesting meeting this morning with a chap who's been doing he's been in marketing digital for sort of 20 odd years. And he was talking about, you know, Rolex and a lot of these luxury brands. Yeah. So he's involved with luxury brands. So he dropped that into the conversation, and that was an immediate, obviously, a source of authority. Yeah. Okay. Much like my LinkedIn award that I've got here, which I picked up. Yes.
Yeah. I saw your photo from the reception at LinkedIn.
Thank you. So I'm very happy with that. So that's a source of authority. But I think it all depends on who I'm with and what I want to reveal to that audience. Yeah. And then it's really the image also. What do I want my image to be moving forwards? And also, why am I different? And I think all these 4 boxes are really important to kind of think about. And that's even before we explore this massive world of digital and this sweetie shop of ridiculous items that could take us forever to use. So that's my beginning on it. Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, clearly you're absolutely right. You're a LinkedIn award winner. So the thing that will concern me, and you know, I'm not a negative person. I'm positive, and I want people to do the best and achieve. But the risk for me is when you talk specifically, if we take that brand association one, the one where the gent's talking about Rolex, that's all well and good, but there's also got to be an element of validation there. So it's very easy. For example, if I take this example, it's very different to work in a used car lot selling 30-year-old, VWs, maybe not 30-year-olds, they're getting into the classic, but 15, 20-year-old VWs, as against being the cornerstone dealer. Yeah. It's two very different things. Or even worse, being the guy down the market that sells the knockoff whatever, as against someone on Bond Street, for example. So whenever you're mentioning brand names, you've got to be able to offer the context of your connection. It's very, very important. And I'm sure the guy that you were talking to today had that validation.
Well, it's stories, right? Well. It's people buy stories. They want to hear what you've done, who you've done it for, and interesting anecdotes, right? I mean, yeah.
Oh, totally. I mean, as an anecdote for you, I've gone from my nice setup in the other room into my son's bedroom because I've got a stronger internet connection in here. So not only challenging with Apple and having to install an app first, but having to relocate, that's a story that I'm going to tell, because do you know what? It means I've got experience of doing this. As a question for you, you are now on the influencer list. How do you differentiate yourself from someone that's not considered an influencer? I mean,
that's a very good question. I mean, I think it really goes back to your source of authority, and your image, Sorry, is that a bag of crisps you've got there, Dan? It's really noisy. Your microphone really noisy. It's all right.
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
Shall I put you on pause? I'll put you on mute if you like. No, I'm not. No. Okay. Can you ask the question again, for please? Would you mind?
Okay. So, you're now considered an influencer now that you've got this award LinkedIn. From LinkedIn. You're officially recognized. Therefore, what do you do to differentiate yourself from people that aren't in that category, people that aren't recognized? And how do you set out your stall using that as an aspect? That's a very good question.
I mean, I think that the reason that I was given that award was because Profile was visited a lot more than most people in the marketing and advertising industry in the UK. So that was based on my activities on other social media channels and actually driving people to my LinkedIn profile. So that was really the reason that I actually picked that award up, just so that you know. But I mean, I think it's really down to using the right words to build that authority and actually just trying to keep away. I mean, for me, I like to have a simplistic view of marketing itself, of digital, without this sort of ridiculous hyperbole of words that people just, they switch off, and that's the problem, is that there's kind of like, there's this mystical vision of digital and how digital works. But really marketing hasn't changed at all, right? In the last however many years, we just got more channels and analysis is faster. And that's really the only differences. I mean, you could split hairs over that, but I think from my side of things, I mean, I've got a book the other side of the room called Strategic Market Management, and it was written in the 1980s. Yeah. And you read it and it's like, well, actually, that's what I came out from that book saying to myself. And it's almost like, for me, it's about being real. It's about being genuine. It's about being ethical, and it's about being honest, and it's about engaging with purpose, and bringing value to people. And that's personally how I like to do business. And people either buy into me or they don't. If they don't like me, they don't want to do business with me. Well, that's fine, because there are many, many other people who will. And I think that's the problem, is people generally, when they first go into business for themselves, or they go and start at a new company, they're trying to build an awareness of who they are. And they're very impatient to do that. And I think positioning a brand is not an overnight thing. You don't just walk into a room with a massive microphone, one of these big loudspeaker systems, and start shouting your head off and expect everybody to take you seriously without substance. So it's really spending the time to study and to learn about your area of expertise. And if you're deciding on actually moving away from a specific area of expertise that you're in into a different market segment, or a different place altogether, you need to take time to learn about that, because unless you actually take the time to learn about it, it's almost pointless. I mean, you could go and say, well, great, I'm amazing, I'm an astronaut, and people would say, wow, look at him, he's an astronaut. And when they realize that you're not actually an astronaut at all, then then you lose all credibility completely. So for me, it's about engaging with people who engage with me sensibly, ignoring the people who ask me stupid questions and connect with me on LinkedIn, who blatantly are just con artists trying to sell me stuff, and just engage with the genuine people. I don't think a lot has really changed, except for the language that I'm using and the type of content that I'm sharing. I think that has to be that, and the content I'm writing as well. It has to be better. It has to be better quality. It has to be much better. So we've got someone calling in. I don't actually know who that is. So shall we let them in just to sit? We don't know who they are. So we're going to let them in?
Absolutely. All
right. Well, I can always throw them out. So.
It's an open forum.
I meant it.
You said that to me earlier.
I'm not sure who this Joseph White is, but we'll check them out. We have to be a bit random here. Hello, Joseph. Hello? Oh, look, Dan, he's frozen. Hello?
I'm frozen.
Oh, you're getting there. So, Joseph, what do you want? What do you want to talk about? Oh, he's gone. Never mind, Dan. It wasn't me. I didn't throw him out. So, welcome to jump in. If anyone wants to jump in, I mean, we're supposed to be waiting for Mike Brycliffe here. He was supposed to jump on because I think he really wanted to talk about this. Because he's,
I think that one of the things that we could mention is servicing your audience, because there's having your own life, your own world, but there's also a really important element of saying, well, hold on, I make widgets, I'm an expert in widgets, I admire the industry of widgets, and I will talk about it. I also have my own life, because that's also an important part. No one wants to follow effectively an industry magazine talking just industry, because it makes you very one-dimensional.
Yeah.
We want to see people that are real people with real lives. I mean, for me today, perfect example, issue with a car, couldn't get into the proper setup in the office, so I'm doing this from here. I'm a real person. At any moment, my child might break into the room, which would be an interesting anecdote for a presentation later, I'm sure. So I'm actually hoping he doesn't. But I think that when we talk about our audience, we have to, you've done something very smart. What you've done is you've gone, okay, there's a lot of people knocking around all these industry in words and all this phraseology, which is just there to make people look smarter and doesn't really benefit anyone. So let's look at everything and go, how do I attract the widest possible audience of the people that I want? Who is the persona that I want to attract? How do I connect with them? Are they top level science boffins, or are they regular people who are specialists, or maybe not even specialists, but want to know who I am, what I'm about, what my values are, and how can I connect to them in the most straightforward way possible? And actually, in the last 2 weeks, I spent a long time on Blab talking with different people. It seems that Blab is kind of this hub of specialist marketeers, which is great. And I've spoken to a number of people, and they've all said it's really easy to go out there and sell, and be really aggressive with the message and just really, drive to convert to sales. But is that really going to build valuable long-term relationships? Are you selling a washing machine because someone's got a need for a washing machine, or are you selling a lifestyle that uses a washing machine? And they are two very different things.
Very good point. Yeah, because it's a long-term strategy we're talking about. Building a brand, like look at Coca-Cola. Yeah, look at these huge age-old, time-old brands. Yeah. And how many years has it taken to build that brand? How many brand managers has it had to build that brand? What are the guidelines? What are the words they're allowed to use? What are the logos they're allowed to use? And then you need to think, well, as a person, I'm actually a brand as well. And really, it's the same process of building a personal brand as it is a business brand. I mean, I work very closely with a chap, and he took Patronus from. He did the first brand strategy for Patronus. He worked for them for 14 years. So he took them from a FTSE 250 to a FTSE 100, and they're ginormous in Malaysia. They contribute huge amount of money to the Malaysian economy, but he uses exactly the same process to build that as I've used on my personal brand, because I've spent a lot of time positioning myself in the way that I have in the content that I write, and we co-write blogs together. My last sort of 5 or 6 blogs have been co-written with him, and we were approached by a 40-year-old publishing company about 4 weeks ago to write a book. Well, I was approached, and then we went to the meeting, and I took him to the meeting, and we had a conversation. So personal brand works, yeah, and that's the proof. You don't just get approached by a publishing company who sees value in what you do. If I was going to approach a publishing firm and ask them to take on a book, and I was going to write it, I would be knocking on the door for years. But because the personal brand was right, they came to me. But that's because we went through this whole intrinsic process of working out the differences, the source of authority, and all of these things which sit behind that, which nobody actually really sees. I mean, we build out the LinkedIn profile, my LinkedIn profile from that. We just helped a very, very private PA. She works with high net worth individuals, billionaires. She works with billionaires. Okay. She's not on LinkedIn because the people that she worked with and who she will continue to work with don't want her to be on LinkedIn. Okay. Because then people would approach her and she doesn't want that kind of attention. So the personal brand doesn't necessarily have to have loads of digital exposure. It can just be personal brand. Right. What do I stand for? And then you use it for all of your communications, whether it's your CV or it's your online channels. Just because we're in digital doesn't mean we have to have online channels, right? So that's my take on that.
And I totally agree with you. One of the most effective communicators I've ever met, he was a private concierge, and it might fit in slightly with your PA. He was a private concierge. He had a rule that he would only deal with people with net worth of £10 million or higher. And it was really simple. He had no online presence, and all he had was a matte black card with his name on and a phone number. And people knew subtly that it would get passed in the correct circles based on his performance, his reputation, his people's experience with him. When we talk about storytelling, I think something that I've learned from one of the people that I work with here, Paul Martin, who is an eminent business communicator and former publisher, he talks about the why of a story, and the why being the anchor of everything. Why do you do it? Why should I be involved? Why should I care? And that why of why you get into something in the first place, beyond I do it for money, is one of the most magnetizing things that you will ever be able to communicate to people. I do what I do because I enjoy interacting with people. I do what I do because I want to have world peace. You can't imagine which group of people constantly say world peace. But that is a brand association with that group. And we have to admire their goals on that one. I was reading yesterday, I went on to 5 or 6 different websites after just doing a Google search for digital, using digital for personal branding. And it was really interesting that across all of these different bits and presentations, they all came back to the core of personability and not having that wall up, being able to let people into your world to an extent, controlling your image, not letting it run free and go wild, but to the point that you are able to relax and just be who you are in an honest way with no pretense. We spoke about this on the previous Blabs, and I'd encourage anyone that's watching now or watching on the recording, please do go back to the previous Blabs, because we talk about the pitfalls of trying to be someone that you're not. And it's so important to be transparent. It's so important to be genuine, because people will just get caught up. But I'm not going to go into that right now. Look, Jim, thank you for the agreement on that one. Where would you say the line is between pre-manufacturing material, very well planned, very well structured, to be out there and be game face effectively, and not necessarily cutting loose, but that line between I can relax enough to be able to be free to speak as someone to react to a story without having to go, okay, I can't respond right now. I'm going to have to come away for a time. Because we talk about not rushing into situations and off the cuff comments, because those can get you into trouble. But just feeling free to go, oh, you know what? Congratulations to someone because they did something good. And then later on, you find out that they're associated with some evil empire. I mean, how do you decide the line of just speaking freely?
That's a very good question. I mean, right now I'm sitting here. I've got a few questions I'll just tell you how I do this personally. Sometimes I like to be completely random, but I find that loses a strategic direction, of the business goal. Because I'm doing a lot of work right now, learning about business and marketing and etc. And I think each department within a business needs to have a goal. It needs to have a strategic goal, So it could be like, just imagine you're in HR. It could be, you want to retain your talent. You want to. Thanks, Alan, for the love there. You want to retain your talent. You want to hire people at less cost. You want to upskill them. You want to find the best people, etc. Okay, so there are lots of different goals, but it's actually one high level goal. Okay, and this is what I've been learning about. So I think for me, it all depends on what platform I'm on. If I'm standing up and I'm doing a speech, which I don't do many of these days. I used to do a little bit when I was involved in doing some marketing within the dental world. I did stand up and do a few there, but I think I'm probably will do that in future. It all depends on what it is, I mean, and what platform as well, because with Periscope, it tends to be a bit sort of random. Blab as well is a bit random, but I think I like to be a lot more strategic now, so we can add real value and we can stick to the topic in hand. Yeah, and that's the most important thing, because we can get diverted, because people will give us a question. If something's live and they ask you some stupid question and it distracts you from your mission. I mean, I've got a brand. A brand grid is what it's called. It's an old school way of constructing a brand. Okay.
Yeah.
And in the middle of it is the brand essence. All right. And I think if the way I look at it is, if any communication is going to take people away from your brand essence, which is the core of who you are, all right, and what you mean to people, then it's a diversion. And generally, if it's not a very small communication, then it shouldn't really be involved in the process. That's my take, because then it will actually damage your source of authority. It will damage your image, and it will damage your differences, and it will damage your functions and everything, because you have no substance. But I think focusing on what you do, and it gives you that clear mentality. And, there are so many digital channels. This Blab, yeah, it's called digital marketing, but there are so many channels, and it's kind of like, but we all forget that without the wording behind the channels are meaningless. They're absolutely meaningless. And they're just another way for you to waste time, because digital is a big time suck. We all know this.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think it's very important to have a strategy in place, as much as strategy is one of the most overused words within marketing, but you can just call it a plan or a basis to be working from. If you've got your preparation in place, you're more likely to succeed. And when things are going wrong, and this is the important thing in my mind, when things are going wrong, you can see that you're deviating from where you're supposed to be going, and you can make corrective measures. That's really important to me. It's when something's going right, it's not a period of learning for anyone. When something's a challenge or something's gone wrong, how you deal with it is critical. Jim's just put this, and I think you've just clicked on it.
Yeah.
In a world where most everything is considered a commodity, your unique personality can be a competitive advantage. I couldn't agree more. If you've got 3 people, for example, I don't know how it exactly works, but the realtors here are either seem to be a part independent or Century 21 or Remax. That's kind of a really North American thing. So you get under this umbrella brand, but over here you've got access to the complete multiple listing service. So it means that you can sell properties that other people have got under the same umbrella, and I think that's why it works. So for me, if I've got 3 or 4 realtors in one market who can all sell me the same property, I'm then going to look at, okay, who's connecting with me? And then it comes to my values as a consumer. Do I like the person? If I don't like the person, it's not going to go anywhere. That guy is not going to get a sale, because do you know what I want first? I want that. I don't want people to be really costing. I want that virtual hug. I want to be respected. I want to be understood. I want whoever's communicating with me to understand my needs. Because if you don't understand my needs, why are you talking at me? You're effectively like an old school newspaper or a magazine with 0 interaction. I want a conversation to take me through a process so that we get to the outcome.
Yeah, but then I mean, let's look at what's happening over the next few years and what systems they've actually got in place now. And if you think about it, it's quite a crazy world we live in, because you've got computer intelligence systems which now can actually analyze how people like to be communicated with. They can align a particular salesperson to that individual who will like the same football team as them, for example. Yeah. All of the big companies are using this. So we have a lot of problems that are going to happen. The smaller companies that don't find these solutions. Yeah, that's very true, Alan. I agree. The main mistake: customers buy difference, not the similarity. Yeah, exactly. But the thing is that a lot of things are becoming commoditized. But anyway, one sec. Let me just grab. We've got someone calling in right now. I'm just gonna trying to bring him in. I got to.
Don't kick this one off.
Well, I didn't throw the last guy out. It just, I've got a problem. I can't seem to. No, sorry, it didn't work for some reason. I'm sorry about that. It's an open seat, so if you want to try again, have another go, and I'll try and let you in. Sorry, whoever it was. Sorry about that. So, yeah.
I think what you were saying was really interesting, and the bit that Alan says is, and that you're saying about customer relationship management software, understanding the profile of the consumer to be able to create synergies between the salesperson and that decision maker, is all intelligence. It's all data. It's the extension of traditional skills that we've always had, and it's just using that data to enhance decisions that we make as marketeers to be able to reach the individual. And yes, Alan's point about smaller organizations probably not having the resources to talk about these aligning parallels in between me as an individual or as an organization representing an organization, or any other.
Yeah, but Dan, sorry to jump in there. We've got to relate this to the personal brand. Yeah. So because I had a conversation with Timothy Hughes. I think it was 3 weeks ago. We had a blab we did around this, and he talks a lot about inbound. Yeah. So you know about inbound marketing. Most people here will probably know, but if you don't know, this is when you get your brand profile, let's say, as a person, to work for you. And that can be on your website. It can be on your LinkedIn profile, which you can use as a landing page. It could be anywhere where you show off who on earth you are. And then someone actually comes in from the outside and says, hey, I want to buy you. I want to buy what you do. And they've already bought who you actually are. And that's what's critical about getting this personal brand right. Once that is right, if you're using the right language for your target market, then they approach you and then they ask you for you to help them. There's no hard selling involved. It's like, hi there, Dan. I need what you do. I've seen you online. You know what you're talking about. I love what you're doing. Now I want to buy what you have. And then you say, hey, what do you think you need? But then the problem is that most of these people, in a lot of different, certainly the smaller enterprises, the medium even, they don't actually know what they need. So it's your job to actually ask questions, to consult with them, right? And find out what they need. Yeah. But you will go and you'll do an audit. You'll do an audit of their personal brand, their business brand, and what they're doing online. And then you'll say to them, well, here you are. You now bought into me. You've bought into my personal brand. And now I know a bit about you. So now give me the information so I can help you, right?
Yeah. And actually the conversion from inbound marketing is very important. If we go back to the tome of it all, how to win friends and influence people, you look in there and it's all about, and I was talking to my colleague Karen the other day, it's all about how can you fill the need in someone else? What are their wants? What are their desires? How can you understand what their gap is? Yeah. So once they've come to you, or even if you're out doing outbound marketing, what is the goal? What you've obviously ultimately want to make a sale as an organization or build that relationship, but you've got to find what it is the opposition or the person you're attracting or the organization you're wanting to attract needs.
Yeah.
And if you're not filling that need, that's effectively the end of the relationship, because it won't really go that far.
Yeah. I mean, we've got a chap here, I think it's a gentleman, Anne Missaud, how to gain the confidence of the customers that you're targeting. I mean, that's the point. That's the whole point of the personal brand, is the personal brand gains the confidence of the customers that you're targeting before you even speak to them. Yeah. Right. So then they come to you, they've already bought into you because they see exactly what you do. They see what you're about and they see why you're different. And that's the whole point of getting your brand essence right, getting your brand right from the day you decide, right, this is where I'm at. This is where my experience lies. This is why I'm different. This is my image. This is where my source of authority is. And bingo. Exactly. Bingo. That's what Jim says. But he's we'll get to that question in a sec, Jim. We'll get there.
Catherine's absolutely right.
1 minute salesman.
It's focus on the person,
exactly,
and not the sale.
Exactly.
It's if Catherine, you can pop onto this blab, it would be amazing to talk to you on that one right now if you can.
To jump on. Anyone that wants to jump on, we've got 2 free seats. So don't be shy, you know, we're here to share knowledge. So
Nat, you went through a formal process for brand building, brand identity for you.
Yeah.
You having the external perspective of a third party can be incredibly powerful.
It's invaluable.
How did you find the process?
Painful.
Yeah.
Very painful. Because
Catherine, I'm in Central Time, so you know, Alabama's not a million miles from here. Come on, jump on. Yes, I'm fully dressed.
Yeah, don't worry, Catherine.
At silly o'clock in the morning. Just come
you're welcome. Sorry, Dan. Yeah, for me, because I was fairly new to digital, to social, etc. It was actually quite a painful experience because I had a lot of different services that I was offering at the time. I was doing community management. I was doing social media channel growth. I was doing, you know, all sorts of different things for all sorts of different people. I was providing AdWords for people. I was doing basically digital agency stuff, right? But I actually didn't know where I was different. So for me and my associate, it was probably the most painful experience because I didn't actually know I was different. I knew I was different, but I didn't know the words to use for my target market because there's a gap here. Yeah, there's a gap between how we speak sometimes in the world, in the real world, to how our target market likes us to speak and what resonates to them. So if I use particular words that are too technical and I focus on technology, right, then I'm not communicating with CEOs or business people, yeah, because they're not interested in technology. They're interested in results. They're interested in other things. And if you speak technology to many people, they just switch off completely. So for me, it was a process of changing the actual words that I was using and actually really working on my source of authority and why I was different and what I provide that's different to everybody else. And for me, I provide a simple explanation as to how these things work. And I can get stuff done and I connect people and build business through connecting people to people because it's people to people. This is not business to business anymore in marketing. It's people to people. People are buying people. Why do you think we got all these ambassador programs? I've been talking about these for 20 years or 30 years. Oh, we've got an ambassador program. It's like, well, now the ambassador program is really easy. You find people who speak to the audience that you want to sell to, and then you have to have the right product, and then you use those people to, thanks for the love there, and use those people to provide the information so that they sell the product to their followers for you. Right, we've got someone jumping in now, so let's see. Hopefully I can accept you. I've got a bit of a problem with this with this platform today. I'm not
well,
being
it's
funny.
still in beta, in fairness.
I know it is, and I've got hold on. Let me just. Oh, I think I've just thrown her off. All right, I'm going to try again.
Oh no,
I'm trying.
Don't say you lost Catherine.
No, I'm trying.
We're looking.
I'm trying to let you in, Catherine. I've just seriously I've got tech problems here. It doesn't look like it's going to work. I'm sorry, and I'm not going to close this down now. So we'll have to because
should we? I'll tell you what. Should we next time schedule a call with Catherine?
Yeah.
Because I think Catherine's point there is a really valid point.
Sorry,
and also, I'd like to
Catherine.
understand. I'm up here in Canada. You're in the United Kingdom. Catherine's in Alabama, as she said. It would be really interesting for me. I think that this is something for people to be aware of if you haven't done it before. There is geographical differences with audiences.
Yeah.
The audiences that I communicate to when I'm dealing with people in Toronto or Vancouver are very different to people that I'm speaking to in New York or London, and definitely in San Diego and San Francisco.
Totally.
They're all different audiences. Whilst a lot of the terminology is the same, the expectations can be very different.
Yeah.
If you're communicating with an audience in New York, there's a slight character difference that it's got to be a bit more instant, get me results, tell me the answer.
Yeah.
Where talking with businesses in parts of Canada, sometimes it's a case of, do you know what, let's just work on the relationship for a lot longer before we talk about anything else.
Yeah.
And it's kind of really interesting. I've got friends that have moved from the UK to Singapore and to Japan, and it's understanding the audience differences and how that affects how you communicate.
Yeah.
Has led to people having greater or lesser success, because it isn't one size fits all. We talk about, when you go international, understanding the local language, but there's colloquialisms, there's sense of humor. And don't think that just because you're really good in one market that it's going to translate to another. Equally, don't be afraid that, I know what I do, I'm really good, I'm an expert in my field, but that's here. All you have to do is accommodate. And a lot of what we talk about is accommodation. Look at the audience. How do they receive other people? You don't have to do a lot of the legwork yourself. You will already see. Go onto social channels. Look what's out there already. See how people do their blab. See how people communicate with others. People that are successful. People that are leaders. People that are influencers. LinkedIn is a great tool for this. When you see people influencing in specific markets, how are they talking to the masses? Don't copy them, because that's not you. You still have to be you at the end of the day. But look at how, say, someone from Europe is communicating with different parts of an American market or a Canadian market or an Australian market, which is something completely different, because I've never been to business meetings before in shorts and at a barbecue. But it happens there. I've not had it here.
Yeah, well, it's very interesting, actually. My one of my business associates, he's done a lot of work in Malaysia. And he's also done some work in South Africa, and one of the companies he was working for, they actually purchased a South African business. Yeah. And what they did is they flew in the Malaysians to South Africa, set up an office 2 blocks down the road. And then they made all the important decisions from the office down the road. And one of these South African guys, who is still in the South African office, turns around and he says, "Don't forget this." He says, "The national sport."
The accents have come out.
Listen. He says, "No, this is a good one. This is brilliant." He says, the national sport of Malaysia is ping pong. The national sport of South Africa is rugby." Right? So we need to remember, that potentially we may not even get anything about that culture. If we don't get anything about the culture, we don't understand about the culture for the target market that we're going for, then we need to learn, because It's all about the research, right? If you want to enter a market, you want to build a brand to enter a particular market in a location, then for me, I'm trying, because I'm half American, I've got connections in America, I've got sisters out there, etc. I'm a little bit more American in my style and enthusiasm and blah blah blah. So now I'm saying, well, right, okay, maybe because I've got a book that I'm writing, so around, I can't say what it is right now, but
you know what?
No, I'm co-authoring.
For anyone that doesn't know, one of the key things to communications is, one of the key techniques is called the T's. And if you constantly drop the T's, you bring people along with you going, oh, he's writing a book. Oh, what's it going to be about? Oh, he hasn't mentioned what it's about. I can't. It's a really good tool.
No, but wait. I'm not writing it.
I know that you can't talk about it.
I'm not writing it on my own because I've been very privileged to have an associate who co-authors a lot of my work with me. And we were asked by a publishing company, a 40-year-old publishing company in leadership, marketing, etc., to write a book. So so it's quite an exciting time right now, Dan. The only problem is you distract me. You distract my train of thought.
That's okay. Let me just go to a comment. So the magic of digital is that the small business can now connect with others globally. From Jim. Jim is absolutely correct. The benefit of digital is that fact that you've got your footprint wherever you are in the world. You've got your experience, you've got your knowledge, you've got your personality. You differentiate from others by what you do and who you are. And people will magnetize towards you based on your persona, your public persona, how much you let them in, and your public communication. And that kind of brings me into an area that so many people work so very, very hard. Let's say I've got friends that are in the engineering field. I've got people that run private fleets of jets. They are very, very good at what they do. Their personal brand is their knowledge in their field, and they're just being good human beings. It really is as simple as that. But where there's an element for an external communications agency is helping form the story. Because sometimes, a bit like when we were talking there about having someone external to build your personal brand and create the mapping of that. A lot of people are very, very good at what they do, but they're not natural writers. Now, what I'd say, when you use a really good communications agency, the first thing they'll do is look at a few things. The first thing is your business objectives, what it is you want to achieve. They'll then look at what you're communicating at the moment, how are you speaking, who you are as a story. They'll then look at the audiences. What are their needs? How do they need to be connected? And then that creates a list of objectives and outcomes. And once you've got all of those touch points and a few others, you then create a knowledge map. From that knowledge map, suddenly to you and me, talking about X, Y, or Z isn't particularly interesting, but to the audience, it might be. And by using someone external, they'll tease from you the stories. They won't write it for you if they're a good comms agency. They'll go through a methodical list of going, okay, this against that, where's the value, and they'll create a table of the touch points of who you are, what you do, why you do it, how you do it for others, where you want to get, and many other factors. So what I'd say is, as a lot of people on this are very good digital communicators, sometimes we forget that long form writing still has its place. Going back to that book of yours, the 20-year-old book, I went to, I was in the 220, which is the space that I work in.
I'm going to get it. You can.
Okay, so I work in a building called the 220, and it's a co-working space, but I've got my own office there. And one of the things that they've got is this library of old books. I went and had a look, And there was this book which was 30 years old, and it was about communications and advertising. The core of it is absolutely consistent with now. And a lot of it is about respect and listening to others and messaging and being able to tell your story. But all that's changed, as Nat said, is the channels. We've got multiple channels now that it's far more fragmented, and you've got to be consistently you across everything. Nat, tell me a bit about that book and why it's important to you as a publication.
This book here is absolutely fantastic, and this is really the core of everything. It has the structure, the systems, implementation. It's basically, it's got everything in here about growing business. And we in the world of marketing, we forget that it's all about growing business. And personal brand is related to that immensely, and exactly. That's exactly right, Alan. I agree with Alan completely. I've read Think and Grow Rich. It's a good book. I agree. Alan is completely right. Business is simple, and some consultants do make it complicated. And unfortunately, those consultants, I was talking about that hyperbole, that they kind of create. They make it seem so difficult for people to do it themselves that they hire them. And it's like, well, actually, they didn't really need to make it that complicated. If they'd have just explained that it's actually really, really simple, but it is time consuming, and it needs someone to manage, right? Which is the same with digital marketing around personal brand, that it's kind of like, well, they just confuse everyone to paralysis. And this is the problem. But I agree. Inbound versus interruption marketing is definitely a paradigm shift. We agree with that completely, Jim. And that's the whole point of once you get your brand right, providing you can drive traffic to that brand, relevant traffic, which is exactly what I did with my LinkedIn award. I drove relevant traffic to my LinkedIn account. So now I built up around 5,250 at the last count.
Around 5,250. That's very precise.
Yeah, I checked yesterday. I think it was 5,250. It's nice to think in the 250s, Before it was, when you're trying to get to 500 contacts, But the problem is when you add all these contacts, the problem is that sorting through them becomes an issue. So, I think Mike Briarcliffe is on the line here, and he specializes in building LinkedIn groups and other social media growth within the technology industry. I think hopefully next week he's going to host a blab with me, which you'll hopefully watch, Dan, or maybe join in. But it's he may have some light to shed upon that. But I think certainly for me, LinkedIn has been absolutely brilliant. I think the groups are certainly the key. What's this here? Which system of thinking? Fake it till you make it, or make it and don't fake it? Well, I think you need to decide on where on earth you're going first before you even decide on faking anything, really, and what you know about and where you're at now. And then you say, well, hey, guys, I'm learning about this, and this is the direction I'm heading. And, be honest. If you're learning about something, don't stand up and say, well, I'm amazing at this. Just find someone who is amazing and talk to them.
Do you know just on that one, Thomas too? Absolutely. Jim's right. Yeah. Be genuine. That's absolutely right. Be genuine. I have had people walk into the office in Camden and say, look, I'm new, I'm a graduate, or I'm just changing careers. I want to look at how media monitoring works, or that kind of field, something that we as an agency specialized in. And do you know what? We've opened the doors and said to people, yep, come on in, come and show us what you can do. And if we can build on that person and learn who they are and what their values are as a human being, the skills we can upskill them if we've got the skills internally already.
Exactly.
If there's someone who is on a journey and they've said that they're interested in something. Do you know what? If the relationship is there, we will say, yes. Do you know what? Let's work with you on this one. Let's see what the results are in 3, 6, 9 months, 12 months. And if it's got to pay off, then so be it. In the meantime, maybe 40% of your time you're doing something else, but 60% focus on building whatever it is you want to build with us. So I would never say, back to what I said at the beginning, if you've got one guy who is in a used car lot selling 20-year-old cars, and he claims that he's at the pinnacle as against someone else who is at the pinnacle with the same brand, they're going to get caught out very quickly. So just be transparent.
Thanks for dropping by, Mike. Hopefully I'll see you next Tuesday. Let's try and do one together. But yeah, Thomas, great, fantastic. So Mike and I are going to be hosting one together next Tuesday at 1, same time. But Thomas, you haven't lost any time, okay? What you need to remember, right, is the more I was going to swear, but I don't swear anymore online. It's not fitting.
It's not becoming.
It's not, but that's the word I was going to use. It's no good for me. So what I was going to say was, you never lose time. All right. You don't lose time. What happens is that you build determination. Yeah. The more you bang your head on a wall and try and get somewhere, you build determination. Even if it was the wrong direction for you, you have learned some big lessons, my friend. And it happens to us all, We are all on a journey. We're all moving forwards. We're never ever static. Yeah. Just because I've got this LinkedIn award here, which I love. Here we go. Oh, sorry. It's this way around.
It's so important.
Oh, hold on.
So
there we go. Right.
It's so important. You had to show the front of it to yourself.
Yeah, I did. I do. So, but the thing is, right, just because I've won this, doesn't mean anything. For next year, next year, right, I might not win anything. So I need to. Oh, thank you. So exactly, Michelle. so it's like just because you've got somewhere today does not mean you need to continually refine where you are at for tomorrow. Yeah, because it's all about your positioning for tomorrow. It's all about moving forwards and changing where you want to end up. But that's where it comes. The strategic goal, the plan. Where do you want to go is where you got to start. And I know I said that at the end of this, but you got to start with that at the beginning. Yeah. All right. So 1 hour and 1 minute. I think we're done. Unless you want to stay on for 10. I've got 10 more minutes if you want, but up to you, Dan, your choice.
Do you know what? Let's just talk on one thing. Thomas brought up a good point. He's put 44, 2 children, single. I think that it's very important when you consider your story and why you do something, that you look at the motivating factors within your life.
Yes.
Now, I'm not going to say that I'm motivated by everything in my personal life as to what I do professionally, but I would absolutely say that gives me a grounding for who I am as a human being. And it's also a part of my story. And to a lesser or greater extent, I'll talk about, my life with people that I've got shared values with and people that I trust. I understand when people are going from a job that made and I don't know your situation, Thomas. So I'm not gonna, ask over a blab. But
no,
when people go from either being in a job that they don't like and they want to be something else, want to push forward in their career, or they're out there already, they're starting out and they're starting from zero. The big thing that Nat just said, award-winning Nat just said, was that setting your goal and your ultimate destination is very important. Setting a lot of small achievable steps on the way are also, I would say, is probably more important than that ultimate goal. Yeah. Because what happens is you set up an ultimate goal, and if you don't have the planning in place to do the 1, 2, 3 steps before step 1 to 10, then you're going to trip up. So set a lot of small achievable goals. And this goes back to school stuff, and it's ever so patronizing, and I'll apologize for that. But the sad fact is that it works. At each morning, I set myself out a list of 10 or 20 things that I need to achieve in the day. If I said to myself, I need to achieve all 20 of these, I'm probably going to go, oh, I did 9, I'm not happy. Yeah. Or I did 18 and I'm not happy. Where if I set out each one as an individual task, I know that I'm, half, 2/3 of the way there. There's always tomorrow.
Yeah.
For me, if you're a nice person and you're willing to learn, you're honest, and you've got a core skill set, organizations will always be interested in talking to you. It doesn't mean it's going to lead to anything. And Nat and I both know that there's one thing to be, there's 2 categories of people, and some people float between the 2. There's category of freelancer, consultant, independent expert, and then there's employee.
Yeah.
Now, some people's motivation is that freelancer, consultant, you get the freedom to be self-determining. You get the freedom to go on courses whenever you want, to be able to upskill. You get the freedom to be your own brand, and that's incredibly important. Being a part of a larger corporate machine is more difficult to be an individual. And let's look at Virgin or EasyJet or Microsoft or Yahoo. We all know the leadership because they all have personal brands, and their brands are associated with those large-scale organizations.
Yeah.
But when they leave, their personal brand does not disappear.
Exactly.
Yes, they suddenly become blah blah, who used to be at organization X, now they're at organization Y.
Yeah.
But their brand values and their personal belief system and their professionalism, their experience continues with them, and their story only grows.
Yeah, completely. I think it's just really, it's providing value for people, providing value is the key to all of this sort of stuff, and being yourself. Yeah. Being yourself. But if yourself is slightly too much for your target market, you need to adjust yourself slightly. You need to polish the edges. You need to learn more words. You need to learn the vocabulary. You need to start writing. You need to start blogging. Be unique. Exactly. Be unique is completely right, Catherine. But, if your unique is too off the wall, if it's too wacky for your target, you're never going to sell anything. You're never going to get any business. You're never going to grow. You're never going to move to the right place within your career. So planning, that's why planning is very important, because we're all in essence, right? We're all steering a ship, right? This is how I look at it. The personal brand to me is like steering a massive yacht. Yeah. If it's a small boat, right, it's easier to manipulate that boat in the right direction, right? Providing the conditions are good and you're not in a force 10 or something ridiculous. But on a bigger boat, it takes longer to move in the direction you want to get to. If the wind blows in a certain direction, you just change the sail a little bit. You go into the wind, out of the wind, and that's the point. The point is it's never done. Yeah. You just keep going forwards, and you have to keep going forwards. But if you set too big a goal for yourself, that can also be demotivational, and that can be a problem. So I recommend being very, very conservative in this goal. If it's 10 years away, fine. In 10 years, you want to do such and such, great. And then you set a whole load of different goals and plans to get to that end goal. But if you set too big a plan, a strategy to get to that end goal, then that's going to cause you demotivational problems. And you can be depressed. I had coaching, I had business coaching and life coaching wrapped up into one. I did 10 hours of that, and it was the most painful, grueling experience I've ever been through in my life. You've known me since I've been through this process, Dan, and it was awful. Anyone wants the name of the coach, I can always point you in the right direction. He does stuff on Skype and stuff, but he actually helped me change my whole life and work out where my value was, work out how determined I was. I mean, it's like you say, if you wake up one morning, right, and you don't know why you're doing what you're doing, yeah, you need to stop doing it. That's my advice. Stop doing it altogether until you work out what on earth you're doing and why you're doing it, who for. That was a big epiphany moment for me. Like, why am I doing this? Who am I doing it for? And what do I have to do? And where do I want to go? And the moment I made up my mind, right, this is why I'm doing this. That's when, at the end of that 10-week period, so I had the epiphany moment, then I had the 10 weeks coaching, and then I did my personal brand profile with my business associate. And then it was like, right, now I know where I'm going, and I know where but without knowing why, you have to know why, but you also need to know who for. I mean, I have a daughter, Dan's got a son, yeah, right? And we have a different driver to someone who doesn't have kids. Yeah, I'm not saying we're better or worse or anything, but you need to work out why. I really believe that. I really do. So
let me just add, and I think we'll close off very shortly. And thank you to Catherine, Thomas, and Jim, and Alan,
thanks,
and
everybody.
Michelle, and
thank you,
just everyone for jumping on this one, because it's been amazing. But
thank you.
I think I'll add to this one. When I first met Nat, it was a fascinating meeting. I was in a park in Camden. With my son playing in the park, and there was another chap there who was trying to sell stuff. And Nat was there. Be nice, right? Nat was there, and we were talking around all sorts of things. I was running after my son, and there was Nat thinking, oh my life, this is the most odd meeting I've ever had in a park in Camden, with someone chasing their child up mini slides and round on the apparatus in a kid's play park. And there's three guys talking business. But I tell you, Nat, you were in a place where you were, you had that professional core, but I could tell you were in a lost place. And you were scratching at ideas. We've all been there. You were scratching at ideas. Maybe I'll do this. I've got this idea. This is a winner. This is a da-da-da. And from the first moment that I met you, I knew that you as a human being were someone that I thought was a nice person.
Thank you.
And regardless of what you were talking about, I could see that for me, as at that point a potential consumer or a partner or someone to have a working relationship with, you had value to me as a human being. And it didn't really matter where you were in your journey. And I think this is something that I think we should say to Thomas on this one, is that you will always find people that align with you for who you are. Nat wasn't in the right place at that time. Nat went on his journey. He did his discovery. And look, he's now an award winner. And next year, he'll be a multi-award winner.
Maybe. I just want to write this frigging book. All I want to do is write this frigging book. I'm not bothered about award winning anymore. I want to get stuff done.
All right, I've got a deal with you. I've got a deal. This is the last time you show your award in frame on Blab then.
I'm going to do it every week, Dan.
So just back on that. So Thomas, don't be worried if you're not in the right place, because the right place will come to you. Work out what is it as a human being can I offer to people as number one. That is number one above anything. When I was talking to Nat the first time I met him, he was, all over the place business-wise, but as a human being, great person. And that hasn't changed. No matter the wording or the way that things are phrased, he's been on this discovery journey. The business side came together for this particular project really well, and that's awesome. But the person hasn't changed, and it's the person-to-person relationship that matters to me. I'm going to call it at that time. Same. Nat, thank you very much for doing this. Blab.
Same. Thanks, everybody. We're really, really pleased that you dropped by. I'm going to do another one of these, I think, next Tuesday with Mike Briarcliffe. But Dan and I, we do these all the time, a couple of times a month. So, and well, Dan loves talking. I don't.
Do you know what? Let me just say this one thing. Now that we're in different continents, not in continent. Now that we're on different continents, it's probably healthier because our egos can't bounce in the same airspace.
There's not enough space around here. No, Dan.
Yeah, that's true. If people want to get in touch, you can do. I'm at Dan Gold Media, as you can see on the blab. You can always email me, dan@dangoldmedia.com. When this is on replay, I'll add the comment in fact, I'll do it now. I'll add my email address. Feel free. Where are the places that people can get in touch with you?
Twitter.
Purely by Twitter.
Or my website. It's just natschooler.com. Oh, thanks, Michelle. Did you unfollow me or something? Michelle probably unfollowed me. Oh
no.
No, I'm kidding. She's followed you, Dan. You're a lucky guy. You're a lucky guy. Hey, thanks, Catherine. We really appreciate everyone dropping by, and we're going to do lots more of these. We've got a lot of value to offer. So, ciao, and have a lovely afternoon or day or whatever, and speak to you soon.
Take care,
ciao.
Everybody.